You are listening to the Screen to Screen Selling Talk Show hosted by Doug DeVitri, your source to increasing sales, productivity, and the customer experience. In each show, we will sit down with world-class thought leaders to discuss latest trends, innovative concepts, and ideas to keep you ahead of the curve using the latest technology. Well, welcome back to the show, everyone. Very special guest, Dr. Tony Alessandra knows what it takes to be able to analyze behaviors and then adjust your language to sales presentations. So glad to have you here, Tony. Welcome to the show.
My pleasure, Doug. Thank you for inviting me.
You know, and there's so many different ways that we can go into, you know, your expertise as it pertains to the, you know, the selling process. What I really am curious about from being able to adjust your language or adjust your behaviors using the technology, what would be some cues that would tell you what type of individual you're working with, and then, you know, how to be able to adapt to that situation?
Well, the key is, first of all, let's identify the four basic patterns that you're going to see in screen-to-screen selling. You're going to see what we call the high D, which is a dominance style. Some people call them directors or drivers. A second one is the influence style. People call them the high I. Also the socializer or expressive. Then there's the high S style, the steady style, amiable relator. And the last is the C style, the more conscientious, cautious, thinker, analytical. So here's how you tell the difference. Based on their verbal, vocal, and visual. And here's the beauty of this, Doug. With your screen-to-screen selling, I actually can now, instead of just talking to people on the phone and only getting their verbal and vocal, with screen-to-screen, I also get their visual. All right? So I get all three aspects of communication. The verbal, the words they use. The vocal, the inflection, the intonation, the volume, the speed. And then the visual, the body language, facial expressions, etc. So what we want to do is, based on what we see and hear, make two simple decisions about people. Number one, is the person I'm dealing with coming across more open or more guarded? More guarded, you're going to see the people with fewer facial expressions. They're more task-oriented. You know, whatever they're feeling or thinking inside tends to stay inside. When you ask them questions, you're liable to get shorter answers. With the open people, a lot more body language, facial expressions, a lot more with the eyes, more smiling. Whatever they're feeling or thinking inside, you're going to see outside. They're more relationship-oriented. So early on in your screen-to-screen selling, you want to develop rapport with them, maybe a little bit of chit-chat, social talk before getting into whatever the call is about, the task at hand. So decision one, do I get the sense that the person's more open or guarded? Decision two, is the person more direct or indirect? Now, this has to do with pace and assertiveness and patience. So we find that the indirect people are slower paced, they are less assertive, and they are more patient, whereas the direct people, faster paced, impatient, more assertive. So when I make those two decisions, is the person more open or guarded, more direct or indirect, I will come up with one of those four patterns of behavior. So if the person is guarded but direct, I'm dealing with a D. If the person is open but direct, I'm dealing with an I. If the person is guarded but indirect, I'm dealing with a C. Open and indirect, I'm dealing with an S. So D-I-S-C. Let me give them names. Director would be the D. Socializer would be the I. The relator would be the S. And the thinker, let's say, would be the C. So now that I know a little bit about the four patterns of behavior, and I know how to identify which one I'm dealing with, what do I do? Is that what you want to know?
Yes.
Right. Okay, so here is the simple thing. The simple thing is, how do I adjust my pace and my priority? Two P's, pace, priority. If I'm dealing with the S's and the C's, I want to slow down my pace. If I'm dealing with the D's and the I's, I want to go a bit faster, all right? If I'm dealing with the C's and the D's, I want to get right down to business and only develop the relationship if they initiate it. If they don't initiate it, it's all business. And if I'm dealing with the S's and the I's, I want to get to know them a little, I want to socialize a little, and then get into business, or sort of mix business with the socialization.
Sure. Well, one of the things that kind of comes to mind is in having a conversation, let's say with a customer who you never met before, but is potentially interested in what your product or service, but they don't want to activate the video camera. Maybe they don't want to activate the screen share. How would you lead somebody into a relationship where you can really start to maximize it in their best interests, right? Because they, getting a stronger feel of the individual and expertise at a deeper level would obviously help them. What are your thoughts?
Well, I would say that it's a no-brainer getting an I to activate the video. They love it. The C, probably the least likely to want to do it, but if we could play on the whole unique technology of it, they're real technical people. So if we can play on the technology angle, the S, the relationship angle, I like to look at people face to face, eye to eye, see their smiles. I think, once I can see somebody and they can see me, it helps it positively impact the relationship. That's for the S. The D, again, the D is sort of like the C, but not as tech heavy. They like gadgets, not deep into technology. What could we say for a D? The reason I like the screen-to-screen technology is that I feel that you can tell a lot about a person by just looking in their eyes when they're communicating, and that's why I like to use screen-to-screen selling. Something along that line. It helps us read the people a little bit better. So that's kind of what I would use to get people to go into screen mode as opposed to just audio.
Yeah, because especially those high Ds who have a very limited time, especially if they just want to know just a little bit about what you're trying to sell, and sometimes they wouldn't know until you get a deeper and really understanding what problem you're trying to solve. Is that they want to have that quick phone conversation or maybe a series of quick meetings to then go be able to expand upon that.
Exactly. One other thing. I know this is a trite saying, but particularly important for a D. A picture is worth 1,000 words. Yeah. So by seeing each other and by me showing you some things, it cuts down on the conversation.
Yeah, great. So as you start to kind of integrate, I know you had mentioned, I shared with some of these tools with you before this conversation. You said that you started to implement it with your sales team. How has it affected the conversations you've had with your current clients?
Oh, significantly. First of all, I have 4 of my key employees that have the most contact with people around the world. I mean, we have clients all over the world, probably 50 different countries. The 4 key people that interact with my clients are good-looking young people. And I really think it helps cement the relationship when you actually can see people. Also, particularly when we're dealing with people in foreign countries or even in the United States that have strong accents, I think when you actually can see somebody speaking with an accent, it helps you listen better as opposed to just doing it on the telephone. So it really has helped. I think it's cemented relationships with people that up to this point, had been sort of arm's length. But once they really get to see you and know you, it's really become more of, instead of a business relationship, it has become a business friendship.
Sure. And on the psychological side of it, looking at how maybe the traditional beliefs are that, I need to meet that individual face to face in order to make it, or maybe even the buyers even thinking that same way. How would you help someone transition from some of those, previous beliefs that might be holding them back from, using something like this?
Well, first of all, travel today is incredibly stressful and incredibly expensive. And when you're traveling, even if it wasn't stressful and wasn't that expensive, which is not the case, still, when you're on a plane or you're traveling, you're not connecting with customers. I can sit in my office, as we're doing right now, Doug, and I can have 10 times more face-to-face, screen-to-screen contacts than I can if I met with somebody in person. Now, every so often, you do have to meet with certainly your A clients, the top 20%. Yeah. But I find a lot of my clients go to certain association events, and I can meet a whole bunch of them there as opposed to just traveling to one point or another.
Yeah.
Believe me, I'm not saying that traveling and going face-to-face is not powerful. It is. But I really believe that this is a significant upgrade to what we have done in the past.
Well, Tony, I really appreciate you being a part of the show today, taking a look at from an angle that really kind of gets down to customizing that conversation rather than just talking about features and benefits. It's really about the relationship from what you shared.
Absolutely.
So really appreciate you being a part of it.
Well, thank you. Thanks for inviting me, Doug.
You are listening to the Screen-to-Screen Selling Talk Show hosted by Doug DeVitri, your source to increasing sales, productivity, and the customer experience. In each show, we will sit down with world-class thought leaders to discuss latest trends, innovative concepts, and ideas to keep you ahead of the curve using the latest technology.
Another reason to join early. Well,
if you're familiar with Google Plus, have a bit of Hangout, or even like Join.me and some of the other screen sharing things I've seen.
Oh, congratulations!